Today is Monday, February 6th, and we are off to the races with another exciting meeting of the Timex Sinclair online user group. We have a pretty full house with 13 people, and I'm hoping, I bet we're going to get a couple more as we talk, because Adam's calling them right now, calling all the people who are not showing up. uh, we don't have a formal agenda, but Adam's written up a nice list of topics that'll take us 3 meetings to cover, at least. It'll keep us busy.
That's right.
I do want to start by saying I talked to Danny Ross. He goes by Danny Ross, which I was that's interesting. And he is going to be joining us on let me think, February 19th, Sunday at 2. Um, and he's going to regale us with, his tales of being the vice president of Timex Computer Corporation from the start, from when he was headhunted, actually, into the position up until January of 1984. And I also reached out to George Grimm, who was a software and mainframe guy. Actually, he did a lot of programming of their big iron, as they used to call it, before Timex decided to get into little teeny tiny iron. And when they started Timex Computer Corporation, he was selected to be the software manager. And so part of his job was to look at these titles that people were sending in to be released under Timex's label and say yay or nay. And that position actually continued through with the 2068. And if you go to the third-party software guide, the last page has this form that you fill out, when you're submitting your program to Timex for consideration. And on the thing it says, send this to George Grimm. So I'm hoping George will be able to talk to us about the 1000, a little bit about the 2000, certainly about some of the software. When I talked to him quite a long time ago, he told me a very funny story about how he and Danny went to meet with the writers from, I think it was Popular Electronics that did the article, might have been Popular Mechanics. In the whole pulling the computer out of the envelope. I'll let George tell that story. And then there's a couple other folks that I'm working on lining up, and I'm being a little more successful than I thought, and so we have people for a number of meetings going forward, and I'm trying not to overload the meetings. It's like one person, and I don't want to have every meeting occupied with somebody, but it's kind of turning out.
Well, that's great
It's
news.
turning out
Not
well.
That's not like something to complain about.
I know. And I keep I keep reaching out to people, and they're like, "Yeah, okay, I'll do that." It doesn't take much to convince people, it seems, which is awesome. And I love having people come and show up and say hi. Let's just jump into whatever you guys want to chat about. And
Well,
you know
who's
what?
new? Who's new?
Well, I see a couple new names. Let me see here. Oh, Paul Holmgren. Paul Holmgren has joined us. Oh my gosh. All right. So for those of you who don't know, Paul Holmgren was one of the two folks behind this computer, Timex computer retailer mail order place out of Indiana, I think.
Yes.
And he and Frank Davis. And Frank Davis was very, very active. There was a newsletter called TS2068 Disk Update something or other, started by a guy named Bill Jones in Florida. And after a year or so, Bill was like, this is a lot of work. And I need to get somebody else to do it. And Frank said, I'll do that. And Frank published it for a number of years. And Paul it was kind of interesting. Frank was in one location and Paul's in another, and both of the addresses would appear in the ads, and you could order from either one of them, it seemed like, and somehow the stuff would get to you. um Paul also wrote with Willie the Indiana Sinclair Timex user group bulletin board software. That's that thing that turned up a little while ago, and Willie talked to us a little bit about it. And it's a little program you can run on your 2068 and with a modem hooked up to a landline that nobody has anymore, and run a bulletin board system. And then Paul did a bunch of other things, wrote a bunch of articles and programs and stuff. Hey, Paul, you want to say hi?
Hello, all. Surprise.
Paul, I'm glad you found us. That's awesome. Dave, the Scot.
That would be me.
Scott, tell us.
I'm here because I obviously came from the land of the Spectrum.
Yes.
I came over here. I actually live in Bellingham, Washington. So it's more a case of I would love to have a 2068. I've got a Next. Unfortunately, I've got a couple of old Spectrums here, but obviously they don't function without massive rebuilding. So I'm my idea. But I'd love to at least own a 68 just to stick in the wall. But yeah, it's I'm of that era. I had my first machine was a hand built ZX81 when you could still buy the kits.
Yeah.
And then migrated through the Spectrum, and obviously all the growing up in Scotland with a lot of software and a lot of just walking into the local stores, local chemists, and buying tapes left, right, and center. So yeah, many. I've been there since 40 years, still 41 years. I remember waiting for my Spectrum to turn up in 1982.
Nice.
We ordered it in April, and I think it arrived in October or November. It was a 48K model, I know that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it took like 6 months for it to actually arrive, because there was all the distribution problems at the beginning of the launch.
Yeah.
And then about a year into it, we managed to break the ribbon cable on the keyboard, and that was then held together by some dodgy wiring. Yeah, so that's where I am at. I'm a Scots living in the States.
How long have you been here, Dave?
8 years.
Okay.
8 years. I met my wife in the States, so and she was living in Seattle and I was living in Glasgow, and we both put 25 miles. So there's an algorithm for you.
Right.
But yeah, so it's more just been there, seen it, done it. Gone through a lot of the 8-bit systems. I'm one of the not wishing to murk the water. I'd owned an Enterprise 64 when it came out as well. So
wow. Okay.
but obviously that got lost a long time ago. It disappeared in one of my moves. But yeah.
What is the Enterprise 64? I don't even know what that is.
Oh, you want to go and look at this? The Enterprise 64. It was an 8-bit Z80 machine, but it had 2 custom chips, which did a lot of the work of graphics and sound. And it was literally the last great 8-bit machine. The problem was it appeared after it got delayed for like a year and a half. And by the time it came out, literally, it wasn't promoted very well. It wasn't sold very well. It was a fantastic machine. You can get emulators for it nowadays. And you were literally, if you were to look at 3D Star Strike, that was on the Spectrum TS2068, I assume, the port was exactly the same code. They could literally just take the code and port it onto the Enterprise. But it was a beautiful machine. You should go and look it up. The design was spectacular.
And so I posted the link to the Wikipedia page, and it says that you could replace the ROM with a ROM that emulates the ZX Spectrum.
Yeah.
And did you have to physically open it up to do that?
Nope, it was a cartridge.
Oh.
You could just pop a cartridge in. It had disk drive capabilities from the get-go.
Yeah.
you could actually, I think I've heard tales of people putting megabytes of memory in these things. Literally, you could expand it if you were into it that much.
That's cool.
The basic was beautiful because it was the first basic I remember that you could almost code it without line numbers.
Oh wow.
It
Oh,
was a very built around procedures. So, you know, very much where the code is going now. So, but yeah, it was a shame it just never took off really.
right.
But it was of its time. It was a great machine. I was lusting after it. I think if you can buy them nowadays, but they all come from Hungary. For some reason, it was a big machine in Hungary. So there's lots of, but I mean, you're talking $400, $500
Oh,
to
boy.
get a machine in this box. So not cheap.
Yeah, yeah. Crazy.
But so that was my last 8-bit. So I'd like 2 or 3 Spectrums. I've owned every single model at some point in my life. Unfortunately, a whole lot, like 4 or 5 of them got trashed in a flood one day. But I managed to hold on to. So I've got a rubber keyed Spectrum, and I've got a not toast track. I've got one of the plastic keyed ones, 48 ones. But yeah, I do everything now on the next. Yeah, again, I've got too many board games to worry about getting retro machines. But yeah, at some point, I would love to own a 2068.
You know what? Stick around long enough, and somebody here will make it happen.
Yeah, I believe so. I believe so. But yeah, so and I was having, you know, just when you mentioned the T-shirts, I won Pajama-Rama T-shirts. One of the gaming magazines in the UK ran a competition to you had to tell them what the last room was.
Yeah.
And I didn't win the top prize, but I got a T-shirt from Microgen.
Wow.
And also I also recall I had an Ultimate Play the Game one because I'd ordered Night Lore and it was late, so they sent me a T-shirt.
Cool.
But yeah, I've met various folks back in the time. The Mel Crowther of Pymania fame. And Jeff Minter, met Jeff Minter.
Jeff Minter, okay.
He was at Lamasoft.
Yeah, right. Okay.
He's still coding up nowadays. He does Tempest, and he wrote this Xbox 360 when it came out. It had a music synthesizer type thing, and he wrote that for Microsoft. But he was also involved in like the Lynx, the Jaguar.
Jaguar, yeah, that's right.
He was well known for porting Tempest.
Okay.
And multiple versions of Tempest and all these sort of things very fast, and with llamas and sheep all over the place.
Of course, yeah.
That was his
famous for that.
that was his famous thing. So yeah, that's enough of me rabbiting on, I'm sure. But yeah, just hi, I'm here. It's nice to be amongst folks still talking about Spectrums.
Yep.
Or
you mean Timex?
My American cousin.
Well, that's because I remember. Yeah, I went to university in Dundee for a couple of years, and obviously that's where the Timex plant was.
Yeah.
Where they built the Spectrums, and we always got baffled because they built it in Dundee. They then shipped it to Cambridge or south of England before shipping it back to Glasgow. It's just always seemed like a stupid way of doing it. You know, they cannot just send it me from Dundee; it'd be quicker.
That's awesome. Thank you, Dave, for finding us, and keep coming back because.
But you can blame.
I have a question for you. How did you come across us, by the way?
Yeah.
TJ.
Oh, yeah. Okay, cool.
TJ, yeah. Just I've been following him for about 6 months. I've actually just signed up for his Patreon, and he said I think he dropped a line on his thing. So yeah, you can blame him for me arriving.
Yeah. TJ Ferreira. Yeah, he's very enthusiastic. He's awesome. Yeah. If you haven't discovered him yet, go find him. I'll put the the link in the meeting notes. But yeah, that'll be fantastic.
Yeah, and I think I hate to say it, but I'm just going to think about this. Favorite game on the Spectrum, I think that I was always went back to was the Sentinel.
Not Elite.
No, I played it in the I played it in the BBC. I played the original on the disc version that had the 8 galaxies.
Yeah.
You also had, there was a version they wrote for the BBC that was actually networked.
Oh wow, that's craziness.
That was, yeah, it was. I mean, you tend to do when you hire that in universities, because that was the computer schools had, was the BBC Micro. I played Elite. I was more likely to play it in the BBC, and frankly, once I got my Archimedes, that was the superior version of everything. That was the best conversion of Elite. Before they started doing the Elite 2 and Elite,
yeah,
the later versions of it. But yeah, no, Sentinel was definitely my go-to game. I finished it in the sense that I had wrapped around the levels. There was you could get up to 9,999, and then it would just loop round to the beginning again.
Wait, you played 10,000 levels or
no?
levels?
When you play it, you get so many energy. So each item's worth a certain amount of energy. Depending how much energy you leave the level with, you jump that many levels.
Okay.
So you might be on 100, and then you'll go to like 130, and then you go to 160.
Okay.
And it would vary, but I had at some point I had a notebook that had all the levels that I went through. I didn't do everything, all 9,999 levels. But I did wrap round the game. I will admit that I actually did a lot of it. There was an emulator that folks wrote called the Sarajevo emulator. It was by folks that were actually from Yugoslavia.
Yes.
And you could compile the BASIC into an exe on a PC. And you could also then run it at twice speed, 200 times, double the speed. That made it very playable and very quick. It wasn't this staccato gaming. I mean, I still loved it on the Spectrum, but yeah, it was a great game at 200% speed.
Cool. Well, that's awesome. Thanks, Dave. Hey, Paul, I just want to jump back to you for a sec, because I did, a little bit of justice to you, but do you want to give a little more clue about who you are to the folks?
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, good. This is only the second time I've Zoomed.
You're doing good.
I actually got started in 1976 with a Motorola D2 evaluation kit, which you had to assemble completely from bags and bags and bags of parts.
Oh, wow.
Which meant soldering everything on the motherboards, because there were two. And that was just for the basic setup. But that was the introduction of the Motorola 6800.
Yeah.
And having a family and not quite earning top pay yet, when the Timexes came out in the US, I could afford one of those without taking money away from the family budget. So that's where I got started. You mentioned Mechanical Affinity, which was the company Frank and I did.
Yeah.
And we ended up being, I think, the last purveyor of stuff in the United States on a commercial basis.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you outlasted Rod Gowan.
Yep.
So did you make it to the end of the 1980s then, or is that what we're talking about?
Pardon?
Did you make it to the end of the 1980s, or was that early?
Yes,
90s?
we did.
Yeah.
91, 92, somewhere in that time frame. I decided I needed to do something else, and I didn't have time to do everything I was doing because I was involved in the community. I was riding a desk at work, which necessitated being familiar with 4 or 5 different operating systems at the time. So it was a matter of what did I want to do the most. And that's when I bowed out of Mechanical Affinity.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Paul, I'm glad you found us. That's really fantastic.
And Tim, you look as old as I do.
Which one, Tim?
Gee, thanks, Paul. It's been what, almost 30 years since we last met in person.
That's something like that. Rhode Island, I believe.
Yeah, I remember that trip. I think I mentioned it before on here.
Tim's told us a little bit about that trip, Paul.
Tim rode with me for a part of his way. And I got a bad news
from
phone
Dayton
call
all
on
the way to Rhode
home. So
Island. Yep.
I buried the pedal on the car and got him home, and then I had to go home. So basically, I spent a weekend in Rhode Island from Indiana, drove from Rhode Island to Indiana, dropped Tim off where he had to be, turned around that morning and drove back to New Jersey. So a lot of miles in a very short time.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, Tim mentioned that you were a heavy-footed driver.
Well, I had a reason.
Yeah.
In all memory, we were in the middle of Pennsylvania when he talked to his wife and got the news. As we're going, it's like, 8 o'clock at night. It was dark. We're rolling through Pennsylvania, western Pennsylvania, and it's all thunderstorms coming down like the Dickens. And here he is driving like a bat out of.
I had a lot of ballast in the back of the station wagon.
Yeah.
Oh,
I think at that point I took over for
Rhode Island.
that is hilarious.
Well, I will add one side note for everybody as a tiny trivia for Timex. In the late 80s and very early 90s, one of our 2068 customers, and I cannot reveal the name because I forgot, is the United States Supreme Court Justice.
Really?
Yes.
Huh,
And he placed several orders with us.
Really?
I think it was Souter, because I think someone told me and I wrote him a letter, being in DC at the time, but I never heard back. I think it was Justice Souter.
Wow.
That is awesome. That is awesome.
Crazy.
And anything we shipped to South America was a double order, because some of it would get through customs.
Oh,
man.
wow. Well, Paul, we actually have somebody from South America here tonight, Gustavo.
Yes. Hello, Paul. I have a question.
Okay.
Okay, are you involved with the Timex product sent to Argentina in this case, or South America?
We had customers in South America for Timex material.
Okay.
And they would mail order from us because we shipped, the stated price is what we paid, charged. We didn't throw in extra for shipping and handling, except the folks in South America knew they had to order 2 of everything.
Okay, great. Oh, another question for you.
Wait, can we back up to that? I want to ask Gustavo, since you live down there, are you familiar with what he's talking about? I've never heard of such a thing, ordering 2 of everything.
I am familiar with that. When I
Really?
had Zebra as a storefront, they were infrequent, but I had very good customers from Latin America who would come with a bunch of $100 bills and explain that if they wanted to get a television back into their country, they had to buy 1 for the customs officer and 1 for themselves. So I heard that story from Latin Americans back in the 80s. Yes.
In my house, I
don't remember them buying duplicate Timex stuff, because I don't think we had that many Timex customs officials using them. But something like when they wanted to bring a television back for it, or maybe even a tape recorder, something that was a common use item, I heard that story that they'd have to buy 2.
No, I have a Zebra FDD, the silver version, 3 small boxes. I have one in my house. It's up and running till now. I use 1 or 2 times by month. It's working very, very, very well. And also the cassette tape, the 2020. Yeah, I have all the sticks. I have all the parts except the printer, because in this time I decide to buy an Epson printer. It's a 24 dots with more resolution that the Timex offer. That's why I not buy the Timex original printer, but I have an Epson parallel printer. Yes, no, the question is to Paul. I don't know if Timex in the close time or before close send, for example, the modem with the Timex brand, not with the Western, right? Exists or does not exist in on the street, the modem
Well,
with
Timex
the Timex
didn't.
brand. Yeah.
They didn't ship it. They stiffed Westridge, from my understanding.
Because it's strange, because I read some documentation, I don't know, 20 years ago maybe, that the original Timex modem has 4 ports for input output. And maybe it's a different chip inside, because the Westric use a single speed and has only 2 ports because it's 8251
Mhm.
chip inside. It's NAC. I have one modem too, but maybe I don't remember where I read the Timex modem use 4 ports.
That's not part of the original spec. I mean, if you go and look through the documentation,
No?
there's only 2
Yeah.
ports assigned to it. Yeah, I don't know. I've never heard that story.
I
Okay.
had to mess with the Timex modem when I wrote the software for the code for the bulletin board, because I did a blocking on control codes on the input side from the callers, and only allowed the ASCII character set through, and I had to do that via machine code.
Oh wow. That's
So it
crazy.
was blocked before it got into the computer.
Very cool.
But I don't remember, having a multiple port situation. I only had to address the one stream.
Okay. Interesting. Interesting.
So basically, I made sure that there was no back door.
Yeah. Right. No crashing into the crashing out into basic, huh?
Well, I also rigged it up so we could track via the printer, the Timex 2040.
Mm-hmm.
So basically the dial in and every attempt to connect. And we did have some people try and crack it.
Oh wow.
There'd be an overnight, attempt to crack it. And then you could see them redial and just bang, test, bang, test, bang, test.
It was probably Matthew Broderick from War Games.
Or Kevin Mitnick.
Well, I think it was Commodore Kitties.
Wow, that's one I haven't heard in a long time. Well, Paul, thank you. I'm glad you found us, and I hope you keep coming back. It's cool to have another
Probably
person.
so, especially if I inventory what's left.
Yeah, you should. You should.
I think I have Willie Jones's 2068.
Yeah. Well, and Dave is looking for a 2068 apparently.
I have more
It doesn't have to work, it's
in the box.
Wow.
ooh.
You can get them on eBay, because I bought one in November, and some guy was selling, his father had a whole bunch of them, and I got it, and I took the plastic off, and it looks like a brand new 2068. And then I bought the HDMI output from you, Dave,
Mm-hmm.
and it works. I got it right on the LCD screen here.
Yeah, that's what I use mine on. I have a little I don't know, 13-inch-ish, 12-inch-ish LCD. It's just big enough. So, Adam, you made a list.
What's that?
You made a long list of things.
Well, it's not long to me. It's just, it's for things that I was thinking about when, if we ran out of things to talk about, but we haven't run out of things to talk about yet, I don't expect. I mean, have we?
I don't know. Well, actually, look, Ryan, are you feeling comfortable talking about those ZX81 utilities you emailed about earlier?
No, that's fine. I was just trying to see if I could get that set up where I could present a little bit of it
Okay.
without having to do the steady cam there.
Okay.
Actually, I have a short one.
Okay.
I'm curious if anybody has played with the ZX Westby, because that project, I think, was originally 2 or 3 years old.
Yep.
And uses an ESP32 as a web server to serve up files to a ZX81. I love the idea of the whole architecture of how it's working. Is that, Dave, you got one there?
There's an it literally came in the post today. That's an ESP32.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
So
Okay.
at any rate,
Oh.
it's schematic and the software is up on
GitHub, I think.
GitHub, and also a few articles. And so I decided I really would like to have one. And so I designed a printed circuit board for it. That's something that I haven't seen. I designed a printed circuit board for it, and I have the display, which is I think it's 320 by 240 pixel LCD. It's 3 inches long, roughly.
Yeah.
I didn't even take that's what it looks like. Whoop. So I designed a board that goes under it, that has an ESP32 dev kit board.
Okay.
In other words, we're not starting at the chip level. There's no reason to do that. So it's got an ESP32 dev kit. So that gets me the USB connector and the 5 volt to 3 volt regulator and all that kind of stuff. And I haven't completed it because I actually, this is my second surface mount soldering effort. I have never really worked with surface mount devices before, except for some rather large surface mount LEDs once upon a time, about 4 years ago. So recently, this is my new, recently I ordered a bunch of hobbyist soldering practice boards. I did one of those. I intentionally kept my surface mount resistors and capacitors and diodes to, I guess I have a bare board, someone else to show, to 0805s to start my surface mount soldering off on an easy step, so the circuit that goes to the tape recorder and the mic input, there's I don't know, about a dozen resistors, capacitors, and diodes in there. So I laid them out as 0805s. What's not on the board yet, because I'm actually waiting for parts, is the way it's shown and written up. They don't use any jacks. They wire into the video and the mic points on the ZX81. I left that as an option. You'll be able to run, bare wires right to the board. They actually show one packaged inside the ZX81, even mounting this display by cutting a rectangle in the top of the ZX81 case. But my way of packaging would actually have this sit on top of the ZX81 and actually at an angle tilted up more to you rather than looking up at the ceiling, actually more like you were looking at a monitor. So I didn't see any particular reason that it need to cut the case or keep it small. And the only difference between using the like actual jacks, I have a place for a jack for an ear and a
nice.
mic. What? I'm gonna get rid of that. Is that you change the impedance if you're actually gonna go into a coaxial long cable. So optionally, you can, you can put a 75 ohm resistor on the board if you're gonna do that. And then there's also an option, this is an option, because you can just use it as a web server to look at it. But this is an option to display, which I liked. And there's also a RGB connector that will go here. So all your connectors, basically this will sit, I don't know if I have a ZX81 handy, but this will sit on a ZX81, and the cables will come out the back.
Why do those people keep calling you?
Yeah, I have to turn the ringer off.
Maybe they're after Timex components.
Yeah, they're already trying to order from you, Stuart.
Yeah, they heard about
Send
it.
them too. Send them too.
So anyway, this is, I'm having trouble with this. So actually, I put the surface mount components on. I downloaded, using an Arduino IDE, I downloaded a driver for this display.
Yeah.
And the display works in full color with all kinds of fonts. So I know at least the wiring to the display works. But when I downloaded the image, which you don't use the Arduino ID, there's image burning software that Expressive provides for downloading images into here. I followed the directions and got nothing. And I haven't had time. That was a full week ago, and I just haven't spent time. Not that I even know what I would do other than reach out to people, actually, if it didn't work. So that's where this project is. It's kind of stalled. I have some other things I'm dealing with. This camera doesn't like to focus. Oh, I know what it's doing. It's trying to blur the background. That's what it is.
Yeah, it's your Larry
if I take
is our resident expert, but you're muted, Larry.
Yeah, if I don't blur the background, it's better. Yeah, that's it.
Okay. One of the problems you run into, now I forgot what the question was. Goodness,
well, how would I troubleshoot the fact
you got to check the boxes on Expressive? Check the little boxes on the right, the left side of the lines you put in. If you don't check the boxes, they'll just sit there. It took me a while to figure out what the heck I was doing wrong, and that's what I forgot to do was check the boxes. You know, put there's 4 lines.
Yeah.
And I'll put it on and 268 group IO there.
Yeah.
You know, and how basically kind of the instructions. I might be a few errors in it, but it's pretty much there. I try to consolidate instead of having to jump all the creation like you do through the different pages.
Okay, I'll do it again, paying attention to the boxes. I know there's like an ellipsis. You fill in 4 boxes, and to find the appropriate files, it took me a while to find those, and it fills in, but I don't remember any check boxes, so I'll look at it.
You bring the program up, look on the left-hand side, next, there's 4 lines you put in, and check the boxes.
Okay.
And then run it. I take erase it first, and then run it, and it should run just fine. Then a little blue light should start blinking on you. Okay. Once it gets done, red light, of course, just a power light.
Yeah.
And
okay. And then what did you do? Connect? How did you got a display at that point?
Oh yeah, I've run this on a VGA monitor and everything. I run both of them at the same time, and I like it as a replacement for the ZX your replacement board you use for video out.
Yeah.
It's because you don't have any adjustments. It's pretty neat, but there's some downsides to Westby.
What are they?
Well, if you write a program on there, you can save it to your little server, but I forget how you do get it back off if you wanted to. That I have. There must be a trick to it if there's such a thing.
The right on the storage.
It'll save. When it saves, it'll save both a P file and I'll put out your mic jack, but it's trash. It's worthless. So far. I've not been able to get anything, but because there's little bars will pop out there like, what the heck is that? Besides the regular pattern that's coming out to your tape recorder or I use it the PC because for some reason my PC jack doesn't seem the mic jack doesn't seem to want to work. Yeah. So I was using the video out and then break your level all the way down using a pot capacitor to the mic level. And so Let's see, so check boxes, do that. How do you have any problem with your display working? Because I had a clip R30, which is just 50, 60 hertz resistor on what, ULA, wherever it's at.
Yeah.
I had
I
to
was gonna
clip
ask
that.
you about that.
No, I don't have anything working. I mean, I know that the display
Oh,
is
okay.
wired on my board correctly because in Arduino IDE, I just loaded, the sample
Right, yeah,
driver in this example
Yeah.
program. So I know that my LED screen is
yeah.
wired
Yeah,
correctly
this
on
is
my
one.
board.
This is one of mine.
Yeah.
This is one of mine I put together.
Would you like a board? I'd be happy to mail you a board.
Okay, because now did you provisions on there for the VGA output?
Yeah.
Because I like that output. That little screen is nice. It's great, but it's kind of tiny, But it's neat. At first I didn't think it worked either. I didn't think any of it was working. Then I found a program, and it was kind of a display program, and I said, okay, the ESP32 is working. My display is working. Okay, good. So then I got back to business. I could figure why nothing worked until I found those little check boxes on expressive on that file there. Let's see, what's that thing called? Oh heck, what's that program called anyway?
Yeah, I have some notes somewhere. I don't remember.
Anyway, guys,
Larry?
huh?
Would you be able to write up some notes about what you
did.
did? Oh, you did.
So-
Okay, that's right. Did
On
you send it to the list, right?
Yeah, I think there might be a couple mistakes in it. I think I noticed something later, maybe because my brain's not working with in conjunction with my hands
Okay.
and the editing. So that's kind of
Larry, would you like to have a board?
That could be a jump, huh?
Would you like me to send you a board? I'd like to send you a board and you could see if, I have a number of projects besides this, so I won't work on this in the next, not likely for a month, but I'm happy if anybody else wants to give it a whirl, to send you a board.
See, I made another one.
Okay.
This had
Oh
both
my.
versions. This had both versions on it. The regular one, with just the basic unit, and of course one for display, which you can see here's my display's hooked on something here. Yeah, here's one with my display hooked onto the thing. This one works better than my other one. This little one here does, because this one tends to put speckles in the display for some reason. They're not that bad, but still kind of annoying.
Well, I'm happy to see that people are, giving it a whirl. I mean, I imagine there are lots of people. And my goal actually, it didn't seem like there's that much of a dialogue going on, but I want to let people know that, this board,
I like the project. It's neat, that
more people will give it a whirl if they don't have to hunt down,
1,000
a
parts.
dozen different caps and resistors. It's already there.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
I tried using some SMT, some very old parts from the early 1990s that I had from RCA. They used to have these little booklets that came with all kind of resistors, capacitors, and some transistors in them. And I still have those. Somebody gave me these many moons ago. So, and they're not as tiny as some of the stuff that's out there now, but still tiny enough.
Yeah.
So, I like the board.
Are there any other users? Anybody else give it a try to this WestB project or looked at it?
It's on my list to give it a whirl, but since you're gonna bring Zebra back and resell it, I don't see why I need to do anything but wait until you get it solved.
Well,
only at the storefront is he going to be selling it.
No, no. This is probably going to be. This started out as and is an open source project. So I'm going to make the board open source. I mean, I make it available because I'll make some, and the ones I make will, of the factory, will put the SMT parts on. But I intend to put the board up on the same GitHub so that like people in Europe can make boards. Yeah. But
Cool.
I won't put it up till I know it works. So something to look forward to. That's all. That's
Cool. Thanks, Stuart.
Yeah.
I
Alright.
want to add one quick
Oh, go
thing
ahead.
about whenever you show us something, Stuart, it looks so beautiful. Like, whenever I hack something together, it looks like I hacked something together. And your stuff doesn't.
I got lucky here. I fell into this. This was my second order to
The
what was
JLC
it?
PCB.
JBL PCB.
Yeah.
And the first time I decided to try anything other than I had never made a board that wasn't green before in my life. And they have all these colors. And I figured, well, I'll wait one more day. You only lose a day. You know, instead of shipping it in 24 to 48 hours, it's like 48. You lose maybe a day to wait for them to run red, blue. So I made one board blue, one board red. I picked a bunch of different colors. And only after I got it back and I stacked them together, say, oh, I managed to pick the right color for this board, because display, it looks like it was intentional, but it could have just turned out to be a blue board, but they look like, oh yeah, he matched the color almost. It's really just the way it worked out. So incidentally, the parts that I ordered, when I ordered the boards, and the next day I ordered parts. I got back an email. Usually they ship in 48 hours. So this was about 3 weeks ago. And after 3 days, I got an email saying there will be a delay because most of our employees have COVID.
Oh boy.
Oh dear.
Some, the word was not some. It was most.
Most.
And they didn't ship for almost 2 weeks. But I did get it. Yeah, I got it. Yeah. So they got really sucked. It was right when China did a right turn and about face really, and decided to not restrict COVID. And they all must have gotten it at the same time. Yeah.
I'm impressed. I think the closest I ever got was I ordered boards for like the TZX project. I ordered them, or they arrived. They're still sitting in the box, unassembled. You know, of course, you can't just order one. You have to order 10 boards.
Well, this is like when I deal with this PCB manufacturer, I feel like I'm on another planet where the exchange rate is just like super normal, because you get 5 boards for $2. I mean, it's I don't have how can that be? What's going on? Here, this was the board. A part of the batch of boards was the second round of my my ZX81 emulator keyboard, you know, that goes from the tactile keyboard to a USB port, so you can go into like a PC and go into an emulator. So I tested it on the Jetty 1 emulator, and it works. The code works, but I haven't really run to like the Raspberry Pi emulator. But that project is, just need to put some polish so that people think I'm a neater coder than I am. But it works. I mean, it works. Yeah, so that was, one board was blue, one board was that red one. One board is a second version of that Tim Horner designed in New Zealand. I don't see him here today, but he did a revision of the board that connects an Arduino. It's an Arduino shield that goes to a 2040 printer. So he's been very busy with work, but eventually that project will come out the other end, and we will release that board so you can have an Arduino put the shield on your Arduino, and it talks to a 2040 printer or an Alphacom 32 printer. And then eventually, since he's figured out exactly what that handshake is between an Arduino and the 2040, you'll understand the 2040, we'll do an interface that goes from a Timex to like a receipt printer, like those little ones that Adafruit sells, and so we'll do that later in the year. But we got a bunch of little different things going on. So that's it.
Oh.
But it's exciting to be able to, you know, have access to this CAD software to design printed circuit boards, and without being on a budget, you know, free. And then as long as you're willing to wait a few, week or two from China to get it, it's really shrinks the planet. It's quite startling.
This is true.
Yeah, really.
If you wanna get better results, if I may make a recommendation, I was talking to some younger people who never even heard about these computers, and they said, "Is there any RGB on those computers?" And I said, "No, I don't think so." Because that's probably why they're not so popular. You know.
Well, right, they didn't have color, as Adam well knows, and they only have black and white. And yeah, actually, I'm repeating myself, but looking around at what other people have done, when I look for solutions to the problems that Timex ZX81 has, the video, the keyboard, the tape recorder, I keep finding more and more projects, and they're very, very interesting. And I just received a box from DigiKey today that has a FPGA development board. That's going to be another big project this year, because I don't know, I've never done anything with FPGAs, but I started to read books, and I've got a Digilent Basis 3 development board in a box here. It just came in today. I don't think I will ever become a proficient FPGA developer, but like there's this project that goes from VGA to HDMI, and it uses a FPGA. I want to at least get my knowledge to the point where I can burn it. I can follow an open source project comfortably and know what they're talking about. And I'm sure I will run through a bunch of sample, examples. But, the idea that you have an FPGA, and if your project needs VGA output, you just call a library and incorporate that into your project, blows my mind. So, or if you have a bigger one, you need a processor. And, maybe by the time I learn this, it'll probably be a big processor I could just put in there. So anyway, so it's
I was actually going to say there.
Is it the Mister?
That's a Mister.
Mm-hmm.
So that's FPGA, and you can burn. There's a lot of projects. Me talking about the Spectrum, but also the Enterprise. You can get the course for that now. So it's interesting because it's got HDMI and it's got VGA and it's all these exciting things, and it's really nice. I haven't really dealt into the depths of it, but yeah, it's a cool device.
Cool. One option is use FPGA as a glue logic, and also put any microprocessors that have a HDMI output, for example, the Raspberry. Raspberry, and also you can generate the HDMI video with the FPGA as a glue logic to interconnect with the TS bus.
Right.
Yeah.
For example, and also you don't need to pass to the analog world. You use digital to digital.
Right.
Cool.
Yeah. But I think the FPGA is also a good learning tool to understand how things work, because when you see how they simulate or create, I guess, VGA output, they get into every little nook and cranny of the timing of the signal to put together, like an RGB output or whatever, and you see it. So I think it's a good learning experience too. So let's see.
You'll have fun, Stuart.
Yeah, I'm having fun doing it. Yeah.
Jeff's your FPGA guy.
No, yes, but basically the VGA output is analog with the double of frequency like a TV, the NSTSC TV.
Mm-hmm.
And also you need to convert digital to analog, and also you have 3 channels. It's difficult. If you work in digital world, maybe you only translate bits. It's more simple for the digital element. If you
Well,
have
if all,
yeah.
I was just going to say, if all you want is 12-bit VGA color, that's pretty trivial with just a, an R2R ladder for each of the chroma channels. So.
Right. No, but you can, for example, intercept the write to the buffer, the video buffer for the TS, all the write at the chunk number 2, and also then recreate in internal memory RAM for the FPGA, and also you create a video in another part of the hardware, not to try to convert the RGB signals or
Right.
the
Well,
component
a good
signals to the
project,
video.
yeah, a good project for FPGA once with somebody who really is in the field of, I guess, signal analysis will be the one that you can pass your tape files through, where it understands what the Timex tape format is, and then when it has dropouts and everything, it makes it makes an intelligent guess to restore those tapes. I haven't seen any project like that, but I would think that a processor and a BG and a FPGA would be, how you would try to do that,
Yeah, that would be an interesting solution.
But you have to know your stuff. Signal processing is, the math is way beyond me, but if that's what you do all the time, you need to get a signal processing guy into, instead of trying to figure out what some Chinese balloon satellite is recording, figure out how our tape, how to read a very old 1980s Timex tape with a few dropouts. Should be a piece of cake for him, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's where you need to get on this project.
I was just browsing the merch store there, and
Oh, you've started something, David.
Oh dear.
yeah, you have to dig around. It's kind of weird, like how you can't just go to a thing.
Yeah, it's weird. Mm-hmm.
But there's your one with the. I'll do it real quick.
Did you find the mini skirt?
No.
Oh, okay.
It's close. It's a pretty cool little notebook.
Yeah, in case you need a $12 notebook.
I've got one. I've got quite merch things. I recall about 15 years ago, early internet, someone had a T-shirt. There was a Spectrum T-shirt that was the loading noise. It literally went beep. Then and then the rest of the T-shirt was a big B. So it had the leader and then the code. And I just thought, I must get that because it just looked. The people that knew what it meant would get it instantly.
Mm-hmm.
People that didn't know what it meant would be so confused. And I've never seen it since. I have no idea who did it. I might even just do it at some point. You just have the Spectrum loading noise T-shirt.
Very funny. Hey, so Ryan, tell us, because not everybody who's watching this will have seen the your email. So start off by telling us, sort of what you've been doing.
Well, I was trying to think back. I think there was a thread about, I forget who started it. It was just about CX81 programs and P files. And I think, as I recall, I guess there was somebody, I guess they were looking for a way to get the program out.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought, oh yeah, I hadn't come across a thing that gets something out of the P file. So I went looking, found a couple that one was I couldn't get it to work. initially, and then another one was pretty simple. So I got that and I was like, okay, but I didn't, I wanted a specific output. So then I said, well, let me just take that and start modifying it. Because I wanted something that I could have readable output, and then also one that's compatible with ZMake base, so that you could, edit it and then turn it back into a P file with that tool.
Is that a thing that CMake base does? Is that one of its native outputs that you can do a P file? Because I've only used it for
well,
tab files.
Yeah, it seems like maybe it's been not well used, because I've fixed several bugs in that aspect of the program and submitted those back.
Okay.
And so in the middle of that, then I was like, I was in my manual flipping back and forth with character sets, because I was then trying to figure out, okay, what code is this? What character is that? And back and forth. And that's when I got on that tangent of making the little cheat sheets for the character sets. I said, I really hate having to, wear down my manual, flip it back and forth. So I'll just do these things, and so that scratched that itch. I don't know if people had seen those. I was going to try to see if that will present. Oh, where is that? Let's see. You able to see that?
Yeah.
Here we are. So, yeah, basically this, started out with just, okay, well, but then I was like, oh yeah, one thing I liked about these things was like, okay, it was a great little cheat sheet for going between decimal and hex. And so then I threw in the ZMake basic escape codes for the graphics characters, and then I added I had some notes scribbled in my manual.
Ryan, since I'm looking at your screen, and I haven't really used ZMake Basic except very briefly, like I'm just looking at an example like decimal 128, or let's use decimal 129, which is that little square character up in the right hand corner,
Yeah.
So in ZMake Basic in the text file, you'd put the escape code and then a space and then an apostrophe. Is that what you'd basically do then?
Yep.
Yeah, you put backslash, space, and apostrophe. So the apostrophes sort of the upper is up above, and the dot, the period is down below, like on 132 there, and a space is blank. So there's two characters, and so the colon is a vertical, is space above and below, and the two periods is the space on the bottom, and period colon, and colon period, and colon is the solid block.
Wow. Yeah.
That's good.
So that's its convention that it uses. And so especially if you do the ones with the space on the right, you've got to leave that space there.
Yeah.
Now there's a problem with the ZX81 when it uses backslash to escape for inverse characters. This is the Spectrum one, so it doesn't have that. But and so if you do a backslash colon, it says, well, is it followed by a period? Well, that could be a graphic character, not an inverse colon. And problem is, if it's followed by a space, you can't follow it with a space. So it's a thing I'm working on to try to fix in that tool. But anyway, so I kind of, in the spirit of like, oh, it's got all these handy little cheats on here. So I remember Adam having trouble remembering keys. So I created a little symbology and did the little showed you how to type all these characters.
Yeah. No, that's fantastic, because I have a hard time remembering.
And then in the top left there in codes 4 through 15, I had little notes in my 2068 thing that says, oh, if you're doing an in key string and you press shift 3, you're going to get code 4 back. So that's what that little column there is telling you. It's like, oh yeah, what key do I check if I want to use shift 3? So that's what that is. And then for fun, I threw in a little hex to the binary single digit table there.
If you had the space, why not?
Right.
Yeah.
Shoehorn something else in.
And
no, you really got this is a fantastic resource, Ryan. You got like almost everything that somebody who's trying to type stuff in, especially into ZMake.
Well, I separated it out. My first one was also trying to put the Z80 opcodes like in the manual. That got
there's not
really
enough room for that.
hairy, so I'm going to make that a separate one later on. They don't really need to be with the character codes. It was just handy that when they did that in the manual. But okay, so here's the ZX81 1000 one, has basically the same elements. And so the ZMake basic things are a little different. And let's see, what was I going to point out on this one? So there is a little bit of format error. I noticed that this carriage return character I used, I don't think any of them were the right width for some reason. I didn't notice it, but oh well.
I see what you mean by the /dot versus the /dot space. /dot is character 155. I don't know what that is. That just a graphic? Is that an inverse period?
I'm sorry, which number?
155.
5. Okay. Well, that's the problem I was pointing out. The code, I looked at the code and it says, oh, if I see a backslash and a dot, is it followed by a colon or a space?
Yeah.
And if so, it interprets it as, that would get it, if it was followed by a space, it would get interpreted as, character 4.
Right.
If it was followed by a colon, it would be whatever the other one is, 129.
Yep.
But if you just wanted an inverse period or colon, whatever, followed by a space, you can't do it.
Okay.
So I was trying to, my notion was to introduce a thing where if you want the inverse colon, you follow it with a backslash, and it would consider an inverse colon and ignore the backslash.
It, like we do in Unix.
Well, no, the backslash is literal backslash.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah, that's right.
No, I'm sorry. In ZMake base, no, it's not. It's actually the pound character we see there on number 12.
Okay.
Yeah, they're different. They're also. I was also thinking maybe they could be more consistent between the two, but so that was that little sidetrack there. And let's see. Oh, I'll just go tell Adam real quick here is I found this.
That's awesome.
That's the
manual for the ZX80, right? Or Z81?
ZX81 manual cover without the text.
Nice.
That's cool. Is that a high-res scan or is that just a low-res little picture?
It's a somewhere I'll say, but anyway, it's a good resolution.
It totally looks like a Blade Runner style,
doesn't it?
Yeah. Apparently the guy sells like prints from his website, but you got to email them and they're expensive and come from England. Okay, so now what was I going to do? I had the browser. Here we go. Okay, so this is in the utilities code here and I posted the link for the GitHub part. So basically, it's just these two little simple C files. They had a character table the way it makes it easy to do. Very similar to ZMake Basic in a lot of ways, of course. Then I made two different ones. And this is the one that just lists it. So it's pretty simple. It kind of just says, what's the character code, index into this table, and there's the text you should print. Is pretty much how that goes.
So this goes from a P file to a text?
Yeah, and so it goes from the P file because, well, the P file is easy. I don't have to parse words, so I just said, what's the code, right? That's pretty easy to do, and you can always use ZMake Basic to get to a P file. So I didn't try to solve that problem over again. And so I had like a little test program here. So this is in ZMake Basic format so that I could generate the test P file from it. So there you see the other thing is you can backslash curly brace and insert a literal code, which would then be a ZX81.
Oh, look at that.
Code. And
So
then,
I'm looking at line 12, the REM statement there, and it looks pretty messy. What does all that say? Like, can you leave comments in your code, like on the side, to tell you what your code says? Is that possible?
Oh,
yeah,
so you mean?
Well, I'm looking at the line 12 and line 15. And 18.
Adam, line 11.
Yeah, those are the ZMake Basic block graphic escapes.
Yeah, line 11 is the
I get it.
Number, right? And then line 12 is what it looks like.
I get it.
Yeah,
I think what's happened is the spaces have been introduced somewhere along there, so it doesn't group them. It's not logically grouped into a group of 8.
We need a space after the.
Well, there you'll see here I put spaces between the block graphics as well, so clarity. So anyway, so I take that and run it through ZMake Base to generate this test one P file, and then I run the P to text on it, and so then we get so if I say give me ZMake Basic out, then I'll get this. And so here it's sort of partially, it's not quite exactly like the other one, because here if it can represent it with a character, it will. So it's not all of these have the escape code numbers. But one of the things I'm doing is if you see there on lines 3 and 4, that if I'm in a string or in a rem, I'll print the code if it's like a token.
Yeah, like the
essentially. And that way it'll come out as a token character instead of the string. That's a little different than how some of these go. I mean, you could do this as an input, but the things that will print them don't tend to do that. And I'll probably make that an option. So we get the block graphics back out, and then we see that, okay, the inverses are lowercase letter, and then others that aren't letters are backslashes. And then I have this little test code in here, and that's because I escaped the codes in the REM statement, then it'll preserve the machine code that's in there. So then my little tester just verifies that because that machine code is just a very short routine that just says load the BC register with a number and return. And
what
if
line
it's
are we
the
looking at that has the machine code there? I guess.
Well,
I see line 1 and
line 1. It says.
I see. I get it. 65 and 201. I get you.
Yeah, it says ZD code colon, and then there's a backslash tick space, which is character 1, and that's the code for load BC register. And then there's a capital C and a 65, and that loads it with a certain number, and then a 201 is return. And so line 60, call that, and it should get the number it expects back, and it just checks that.
Oh, right. Right. And line 40 has the value that it should be getting back.
to make sure it just preserved it.
Yeah.
And so then if we opt for the sort of more readable output, you'll get this, which then uses some block graphics characters. Now, the Unicode doesn't have all of those, so I just kind of made up something for the gray ones there. If you can see on line 18,
Yeah.
I may twiddle that, but basically, and then the inverses are in brackets, so that's why I picked. Just as a different way of output.
So, Ryan,
So then,
I see that this is all the C source code. What do you compile it with?
C file. What do you mean?
Right. Which C do you use? And are you compiling it on your Pi?
Yeah, just so that's just GCC there, I guess.
Okay. And what about do you have a Windows or Mac or both? I mean, Windows or Mac, right?
Say again.
Do you have a Windows or Mac computer or both?
Well, I have a Mac, but I haven't like gone and tried to make this build on it. But
yeah,
if you just got the
I think it's Xcode.
what is it? You can get they have like the command line. I forget what they call it. It's basically just the command line tools.
Oh yeah, the Xcode command line tools. Okay.
I think you can get that, and then it'll install the compiler.
Okay.
And you could probably, I imagine that installs make as well. And so there's a make file. So
and then for Windows, you would need like Cygwin or something, right? Is that
well,
still a thing?
You could, but what I was hoping that somebody maybe, I think Tim could be able to jump in there and add me something to help build on Windows.
You could probably do it in the WSL, the new layer that's in Windows 10 and 11. It's because you can run Ubuntu or various types on there.
You can do the same thing on Windows, though.
You can get GCC for Windows.
Yeah, I know.
Well, but it's not GCC particular, so you could probably just get Microsoft Build Tools, which is the command line compiler, and I'm sure that'll just do it. And then you just run the little developer command window, and you just run CL is their compiler. So that'll probably work for Windows.
Ryan, do you have to worry about the endianness of the processor you're working on, or does this work byte-wise on the P files?
It's byte-wise on the P files. I've not checked. I have to think about that. I have to check the reading, but I think the reading is just by bytes. I don't think it'll be a problem.
Okay.
So then the other one is there was the question of probably Adam asked that, the question of converting CX81 programs to Spectrum, and I posted a little bunch of here's what to look out for and what you could do.
Right. I printed that out. I'm actually looking at that right now. You posted that on January 25th. And the thread was called the TS1000 and TS2068, how compatible. And you wrote like almost a full page and a half of like the differences and similarities there.
Yeah.
Well,
it was really helpful.
I kind of remember all the things, but all the details I kind of would go over and do a little search or check or something. And then after a while, I was working, I got the P to text thing working, and I thought, well, could I code up those rules? And so it was a little challenge now. And so I initially was going to build it as an option in the other one, but then it got now this one's way longer than the other one, because it was a lot harder needed more code. So again, a character table you're going to need. And then I had, again, the two sort of styles. But basically, I got to track all these things somewhere. I don't have it in here. Okay. I thought maybe I had some little text block that was essentially the thing Adam's looking at. But it's very similar. You get the two output styles. It just runs through there. I was trying to figure. Okay, maybe this is okay. And it's just gonna, basically it's rules. Actually, no, I know what you do. Just go to the darn README here. Here we go. So there you would just run, same for P to text, you get the -R for readable and -Z for ZMake base output on the P file, and you pipe that to your whatever you want. So with this, here's the summary I was looking for. So the block graphics will turn into basically like what we just seen, ZMake base, escapes, or just the Unicode characters, depending on your output option. Then if you use one of the gray block graphics, it replaces those with the UDG character A through F, and then it inserts a subroutine that'll generate those that I posted that little bit of code. I think it's in that same post, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And so it just inserts this subroutine that'll program those 6 UDGs, and then changes the block graphic code character to the UDG A through F, depending on which one it is. And so then that'll come out. And then the unplot command comes out as plot inverse 1. The plot resolution, what I decided to do was just multiply the coordinates by 4. And after each plot, I call a
Wait, so you're doing
subroutine.
more than just bringing the program in. You're actually trying to convert it on the fly?
He's converting, yeah.
Holy crap.
So it'll work mostly the same. There is a thing about the plot. Because on the Dig City one, the plot is really just characters, right?
Yeah.
I'd forgotten, the one thing I forgot is that when you plot in a coordinate and it figures out which character cell the pixel goes in, it's really printing a new character there. Well, guess what? After you do plot there, that's where the print position now is. And so if you print something, it'll print right after that pixel. And I
forgot about that.
I didn't throw that in, and I could calculate it and throw it in, but I haven't done that yet. That's a difference. But scroll command, I worked out in that same post an equivalent. You poke the magic place that keeps count of the number of lines before scrolling. You poke it, well, anything greater than 1 if you just keep poking it. So it doesn't try to ask you to scroll. And then you print at the last line, then you print 2 carriage returns. So that's its scroll substitute. Fast and slow, it just removes them. But you have a program that uses that for making sounds, well, you're out of luck. You'll have to figure that out.
Wait, go back. I don't actually, people would use the fast and slow command to make sounds. How does that work?
You'd pick it up on your radio was one of the tricks.
Yeah.
Well, you turn the TV volume up.
Oh, that too. Yeah.
Yeah, there's an interference, and I also think it did something with the interrupts the borders. Where you could do, if you're really, really smart, you could do things with the borders. But that was a long time ago. So,
basically,
that was a program available in Sync magazine where basically you sent out bytes as if you're doing a save to the audio port, and then you had a little amplifier that would then play the music.
Yeah. I had
you had different codes for different notes.
Yeah, they would have those things. And I had one I had typed in, and what it did was it read the input, recorded it in memory, and then you could play it back. And so let's see. So the poke and peek.
When I sit in these meetings, sometimes I'm like flabbergasted about like the weird things that happen in the Sinclair world, like about how to make stuff happen. Like I'm like, what?
Oh yeah.
I remember the first time someone did the split border aquaplane, I think it was, where the sky and the sea that were extended out past the border, and it was all down to there was a timing trick going on with it, and it's same with some of the loading screens that had numbers that were actually appeared not just in the main body but also in the border, which was
because basically that's how you do the high res in ZX81 is that you're doing your own display generation, just like ZX81 does to make characters. Only now you're drawing all the pixels yourself.
Yeah.
And then it's all about timing. So yeah, you could certainly put stuff in the borders if you do that. Okay, so poke and peek. I decided just disable the pokes. They're just really not going to work probably.
Yeah.
So it's just a rim, and then there's most of these will put an append, the colon rim on them with some sort of note or warning. And maybe at some point I might okay, if you've got the address there hard coded, maybe I can look it up for an equivalent system variable or something, but it's probably not worth doing.
Yeah, that's a lot of work. That would be a lot of work.
And if it's in a variable, then it's just, you can't do it. And then the peaks, well, I just put a note, but the value is not going to be sensible. The user call to machine code, I disable. I turn it to an int. Just so you notice it, and it still runs, but you don't get it doesn't do anything. And character string encode, I put a remark note to say you're probably going to have to look at those numbers and adjust them. And similarly within key string, within key string, you're probably going to want to switch all the capital letters to lowercase. Although I guess technically I could have inserted I could actually insert the poke to put on caps. I guess I could do that, but I might put that in the rim or something.
Make it a switch.
Autosave, I just kind of punted. Is my recollection correct that in the ZX81, if you did the save in the program, it turns the last letter inverse, and then it'll auto run there. I think that's how that works.
Yep. And same with you don't actually have to do the line unless you want to specify the line number. But if you save from within a 2068 program, it'll save it as auto running.
Yeah, okay. Right. So I look for that and I turn into a save with a line, and I just give it increment the line number by 1, which is more or less just a note for you, because until you make a tape file, you need to pass the option to ZMake base to do it actually.
Yeah.
Unless you're just going to type this in, I guess you could do that. And then of course the inverse characters. So the readable, the readable output, it'll just be kind of like the other utility. But if you use the ZMake base output option, then I just inline the inverse and true video attributes in the literal. I just realized that for here, I'd probably need to include screenshots of what the.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Wait, what happened? Where am I? Oh.
You're in somebody else's area.
That was the page before. Okay, I don't need to go back. I need to go up. So there's the ZMake basic one. You can see all the inline. I don't optimize it. It's for every character. There's an inverse and true around every inverse letter. And so there we can see. This is the other. Yeah, I need to upload the other. I got another tester that's a little better for this. But you can see there at the bottom what it does is that, yeah, this is not the test. Is it? Oh yeah, because this doesn't have plots in it. That's right. I got another. I haven't uploaded the other tester. So here we've got the gray characters up above that we used, of course. So at the bottom you see the short little routine that pokes the UDGs in. But it'll look for. So if you use poke, it has two tiny one-liner subroutines, and it looks for places to put them. And what it's done is it says, well, I put it at the end here. And so it inserts a stop before it so that it doesn't run into it. And then there's a call there at line 5.
So Ryan, I'm curious, have you had an opportunity to actually, or are you even far enough along to have tried to convert even a program from, I don't know, say the Timex 1000 manual to the 2068, and what do you get out of it?
Well, I haven't done like a lot of other programs. A couple I had on handy were not really.
And also, I should say that over this last week, I actually went through most of the Timex 1000 manual for the very first time under emulation because I didn't know anything about the damn system. So I got my stickers on my keyboard, and so now I'm able to actually follow what the hell you're talking about. So that's good.
Oh yeah. So I was going to show you. I think I posted the thing, my little cheats. You know, I got printed out a.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Thing, and then I had the one for the 2068. Thinking these might be good laminates. So what I did was I just keep them under my little keyboard here and slide them out when I need to look at it.
Yeah, I don't know if you can see what I've got here. I don't know. Can anyone see this?
Oh yeah, you put the other stickers on another.
Yeah, these are the Timex 1000 ZX81 stickers. So they it works really good. Like all the stickers work. And who was it? I think it was someone told me what is this? The break, yeah, that one. And what was the enter? The enter is the function and new line. I was like, I don't know what that is. So, yeah, and it's interesting how to use the function. I didn't understand what that was. So what is it? Symbol and function to get like the keys underneath?
Just shift enter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is function.
So, right. But this is all new to me. So that system and all the only reason I really started using it really was so I could play that Grimm's Fairy Trails or what have you. And so I started playing a black and white game, and I'm like, all right, the ZX81, awesome. Timex 1000, cool.
Well, I don't know. Do you guys ever have the Monster Maze?
Yes.
That was the first time I saw that inspect on the ZX81, and I was like blown away. Of course, we then spent 3 days trying to load it up a second time because it was not reliable in loading.
You
You get 4 minutes in, and then it would fall over.
You folks never tried fingernail polish?
What was the fingernail polish for?
Clear fingernail polish on the keys.
Oh, on the keys. Oh yeah. No. Dave was referring to the fact that, you know, the 3D Monster Maze as a ZX81 tape is a little hard to load sometimes.
Yeah, and of course you daren't rattle it, and then the RAM pack falls off, or the RAM pack wobbles.
Don't breathe on it.
Don't be in the same room as it.
But the solution to RAM pack wobble was to duct tape everything to a single board, the computer and the memory, and you're done.
Yeah.
Just get a big rubber band.
Big rubber bands.
That too.
A big rubber band. Wrap it around the case sideways.
Remember, mine was that the ZX printer connector stabilized it quite well.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I learned don't set the ZX81 on shag carpet.
Right.
No ventilation.
Leads to overheating.
And we're still talking about those machines. We love them.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, but there's things you'll learn about them, like learning to use when you record a tape. You play and record, not just record.
Oh
because then it sounds like it's recording, but it's not. So
That's an important little detail. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
We should document
Yeah.
that.
That and the shag carpet. Yeah. Like who's
Yeah.
got shag carpet these days?
Yeah.
I
50
do
tips for
have one
ZX81 owners.
TS1000 that they solved the wobble problem.
No, they didn't.
They did. I have one.
Yeah.
They took everything out of the case, cut a hole, and cut the innards out of the black carrying case.
Oh, right. Uh-huh.
Made a keyboard layer with regular keys and hand wired everything inside, including the RAM.
So, and so, you know, Paul, that actually reminds me, I'll see if I can find this picture. Somebody took that case that you're talking about, that carrying case, and hollowed it out like you said. And then they put a, I think it's an Auric keyboard, like the red one that you see behind Keith on his computer. Red and black. Is it red and black, Keith?
I would have to unbox it to tell you.
Yeah. Okay, here it is. I'm gonna share this. I guess I'm not gonna share this.
I'm going to share this one though. This is I think I found this is the best solution I ever came across. Was, let me get to the chat. In that one, see if you can look at that. It's actually shaped, so it actually fits in the back of the machine.
Oh yeah, memo pack. Yep.
Yeah. Dave, you know who's selling that?
I don't. It's just it's an Etsy page.
Yeah. No.
Are you selling it?
Stuart.
You're all right. Okay.
That's Stuart's at
I've
Etsy
had his
page.
ZX81 fitted, yeah, but there you go. I'm learning all these wonderful things. I've actually joined the group as well, so there you go.
Good. All right.
The memo pack came out way after the ZX81 came out in the US.
Oh yeah.
So I bought my ZX81 with the 16K at the same time.
Yeah. A ditto.
I'm gonna share my screen real quick here just to show. So there was this carrying case, this really cool carrying case that came out in '83.
Oh, I saw that. I remember
and you
that.
could get it through it was in Ramblings. That's what this little thing in the top left corner is. This is a cutout from the Ramblings ad. And so you could pack your entire computer in it, like this sort of first picture shows here. But this little one over here on the right with the red keys, somebody hollowed it out and stuck an Auric keyboard in there.
That might be the one that I've got.
Yeah, that's the same keyboard you have, Keith. Yep, that you put in your 2068.
So I know somebody at the 87 convention show carried that thing around all day.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, cool. Okay. Hey, Keith, I want to ask you, put you on the spot if you're still here. Let me see if I can find you. There you are. I'm going to spotlight you, Keith. So I know what I'm looking at, Keith, but can you tell the other folks what it is you've got behind you?
Oh, you're talking about the drive, the disk drives?
Yeah.
The MDEC.
MDEC 3 dual disk drives, but they're 3-inch discs. They take special discs. You can only record on one side at a time.
Yeah.
Yep. Single-sided.
Yeah.
Basically.
And that's an Airco floppy disk interface?
It's an Airco, but modified to use the forgot the name of the other interface.
Is that the Oliger?
Olinger.
Yes, it's with an Oliger cartridge plug-in. It can do both Oliger, not Oliger, excuse me, Larkin and Airco at the same, not at the same time, but you can use Larkin or Airco systems.
Okay.
Is that similar to the Amstrad, the +3 Amstrad discs? Just out of interest, because that's all I ever experienced was the Amstrad, the CPC 6128 with the disk drive, the 3-inch disk drive.
Did they have 3-inch discs or 3.5?
Yes, they had it was exactly because Amstrad bought Sinclair. They then put the same disk drive into the +3 model of the Spectrum.
Okay.
and it was this 3-inch, and it was double. You could flip them round. You could have
Flip
it.
it over. Yep.
You could flip it over.
Yep.
But it was I knew someone that had a one of the micro tapes, and it was just the disc was so much easier to use.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, I was curious to see what was the same discs.
So
Yeah, the most reliable drives I've ever used.
Keith,
I
what's
think
the
you could, if you flop the drives, you could put 3.5s in that case.
I thought I could. I was going to do that one day. I've got 3.5 drives. Doesn't fit.
You don't put them in vertical, you put them in horizontal.
Oh.
the ancient secrets come out?
Well, I seriously thought about adapting the MDEX for my Z88.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I ended up with a box and then never used it.
So I have a question about that Amdex disk drive, because I remember seeing ads for that in like Analog and Antic magazine for the Atari 8-bit computers. And so what computer system was this originally for? Because it wasn't originally for the Timex, right?
No.
Oh, no. I just modified the cable so it would work on the Airco disk drive system.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a generic I don't know what they would call it back then, Sugar SA400 or something like that.
Yeah, it uses very similar code in the way that's set up there with the Airco system. It's 195 storage on each side of the disk.
Wow. Okay. So what's the circuit board that is
behind the Airco?
Yes.
That's an Airco dual serial port.
Got it. So that big chip is like an 8255 or something?
Beats the heck out of me. I didn't study that.
Okay. And then
the one to the right of that is a Linger board.
Is a what?
A Linger parallel port board.
Linger parallel port board.
It plugs into the cartridge slot.
Oh, right. Okay. That's what, okay, that is a cartridge. Okay.
Oh, for a second I thought you stumped David. Oh.
No.
Well, I knew he knew Linger because he had mentioned it before.
Linger, was it?
You mean Oliger?
No, Linger.
That's not Oliger. No.
Okay.
It's the print
I
board.
got some of the Oliger boards.
Well, you know who wants those is Willie.
He's looking at another setup.
Oh, I think he could probably not, have too many setups in his life. He likes his Oliger system.
Well, he was local to us.
Yeah. So how did you guys work together in terms of writing that bulletin board system?
Willie started out with the basic tiny board.
Yeah.
And he wasn't happy with it.
Okay.
So I took over the development and I basically rewrote Tiny Board and added a bunch of features to it and then incorporated it so we could use it with the Oliger drive system.
Okay.
That swapped in and out the message basis.
Wow.
Also, you could have done the same thing with the A&J rapid the micro cassettes.
Oh yeah, the wafer. Yeah. Yeah, the stringy floppies.
Yeah, the stringy floppies.
Yeah. Cool.
But they proved to be a little slower, so you needed to use the short tape for that.
That's
if you used a 10-minute tape, that was fine.
Wow.
But working on the Oliger, you almost didn't notice that the message bases were swapping out.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense.
Because we just, I do a save in one and load the other.
And it was quick enough.
Yep.
Quick enough for 300 baud.
Oh, easily.
Oh, wait, so you were running the bulletin board from a tape-only system?
Well, with the A&J, yes.
Wow. Okay.
Well, he's saying A&J was.
But then we had, we chose to go with the Oliger because John sold us another set.
Well, David, what were you saying? I guess I'm a little confused. So there wasn't only a tape-based system.
No.
Oh.
I mean, you theoretically could run that off of a tape-only system, except that your message, the amount of memory you had to store messages is really small, and so what Paul's saying is that you could hook it up to that A&J stringy floppy system with those funky little cassettes, right? And if it was a short enough cassette, the access time, because it's an endless loop cassette, right? It's like an 8-track cassette. The endless loop cassette, the access time was okay for, saving the current message base and getting to, a message array, and then loading up the next one, right? And just swapping out. But with a disk, it would be even faster.
Of course, right.
It'd be a whole lot faster. We have about 10 minutes.
I got a question for Paul.
Yeah, go ahead.
Paul, was it you that mentioned 1987, someone was carrying around the keyboard like that?
In the black Timex 1000 carry case.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe you were talking about this one because that was me carrying it around at the Southern Show.
No, not in the 2068. I only saw that in the, and later on somehow I ended up with it.
That's crazy.
Okay. Well, that's when I made that case like that. I put it in 1987.
Ah.
Why would you ever want to replace the 2068's keyboard anyway?
Pardon?
I was just making a joke. Why would you ever want to replace the 2068 keyboard?
I couldn't stand it like it was, and I knew all the keystrokes without having to look at anything, so I didn't need all the figures. I would need it now, and if I had to use it now, I'd be using what's that fellow that died that wrote the keyword program?
Jack Doheny?
Yeah, Jack Doheny. Yeah, he supplied me with the code for that, and he supplied me with several things. He supplied me with a 32K ROM with the Spectrum and the Timex and pull-up resistors besides. A real-time clock in that thing. It's got a real-time clock. Batteries are dead now, but they used to have a power to keep it running. And I was in the process of writing software so I could access it and use it with the Airco system.
Wow, that's fantastic. So did the arrow keys work? Did you wire those up to, and the looks like a delete key?
No, the arrow keys, I was in the process of putting in 66 chips that would allow them to be automatically accessed, but there's a lot of auto shifting keys, but I did it with diodes.
Okay.
Leroy, sorry, this is Gustavo. I have a question. I have also an Airco FDD card like you have there, plugged in the picture, okay, in the back of you. And I'm missing my manual for the printer interface. Are you use of the printer, the parallel printer Airco?
I have a parallel printer interface. I have for the Airco, I've got it for the Tasman B, and I've got it for the Linger, but I don't know where any of the manuals are.
Oh, okay.
They're probably in my basement and under probably 2 feet of documents.
No. Oh yes, I upgrade the board to 256K. It works very well in the CPM and also running the operating system. Yeah.
I thought you were talking about the printer interface, but you're talking about the Airco disk drive interface?
Yes, of course.
I've got the CPM system too. That's why I have the dual serial port, so you could have it with I call it a monitor, but so you could turn off the display and run it on a real fast system with CPM.
Yes, no, I remember the last ROM I installed on the board was the number 9. I don't know if exists more newest or not.
No, the number 9 was the last one, but I made some that I numbered 10.6 with a lot more features added to them as I burned them in.
Oh, okay. Do you know if exists in any site to download that or not?
Repeat that. My audio got all this disturbed here.
Oh, okay. No, the question is if you know if exists any website to download the image for the newest version, because I installed the 9 on my system.
I do not know if anybody has. I distributed to a few people that wanted it, but I don't know if it's ever been uploaded anywhere.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you.
You ever heard of Dave Hill's modifications to it? And the Airco system can be modified to work with the Spectrum as well. I mean, if you have a Spectrum ROM installed in your 2068.
David, since we're down to about 5 minutes, can we talk about the next meeting?
Okay, so the next meeting is going to be Danny Ross, the former VP of Timex Computer Corporation, and it's on Sunday, February 19th, 2 p.m. Eastern. I think I'm going to try to simultaneously stream it to YouTube as well for folks who are not, Zoom compatible, as it were. I mean, I don't think we'll run out of seats in terms of the Zoom meeting, but that may be a thing that some folks would, find useful. And for that one, that reminds me, thank you. I have a document. It's a place to post your post your questions for. If you have questions that you want, Danny to answer, put them in here. And so what I'll try to do is I'll try to coalesce them down into, the common themes and stuff, so we can not be asking, the same question twice. I think he's going to talk for a long time, and I think we're going to have a lot of questions. And I'm kind of hoping, that he won't mind going beyond the 2 hours. I think that this will go beyond 2 hours. Or we're just going to have him back. And he's certainly thrilled to be here. He's certainly thrilled to join us. He's very excited about it. So even if we do run out of time, I think we'll be able to get him back. So here's, I put down a link to his information as much as I have it. Which also has that video that you referenced, Adam.
There was a time when we had a columnist that had mainstream coverage.
You thinking of Mark Fendrick?
Yep.
Yeah.
He's
Computer
still around,
Shopper was big back then.
Yeah, and he's somebody that actually I've been meaning to try to reach out to.
He was in Computer Shopper. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And he also wrote some software. He wrote a gradebook program. He had a little, side business of doing this. And he was also in, I think, one of the British publications. He sort of reported on the US side of stuff for like ZX Computing or something.
Right. They needed to hear more because there was nothing going on over in England.
It was one page in a very long, Markel Software. He did a teacher's gradebook, right? He did a column called Across the Pond that was in ZX Computing in the later 80s. The Sinclair Survival column, that was the one in Computer Shopper. Mark is a person I'm curious about.
When we talk about Computer Shopper, are you talking about that magazine that was like 500 pages thick and there was nothing but ads?
And this big.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, they were articles.
Were there? I don't
You
remember.
got to fight your way through the ads.
Before Amazon, that was the only way you bought your computer.
That's right. That's right.
I only read it for the articles.
Didn't study the pictures.
Luckily, in the Bay Area, we also had two other magazines, Microtime and Computer Currents, that were free. They're actually quite good. Not a lot of Sinclair coverage, but I think they did some CPM coverage for a while.
There was also Nuts and Bolts.
Nuts and Bolts is still around.
Yeah, that was a hobbyist magazine back then.
Yeah, it still is. I have a subscription to it. It's gotten thinner and it's improved a little bit in the past couple of years.
Well, a lot of the Sinclair stuff in Nuts and Bolts wasn't complete. You had to write in and complain, and then they send you the correct stuff.
That's pretty
I
funny.
think Dr. Dobbs did a few articles on the ZX81 when it first came out, but not much.
Yeah. Yep. There was a guy that wrote, he had a column and he would write about the Sinclair. He actually wrote about the 2068 too.
Okay. Anybody remember what was the guy in Dr. Dobbs? No. So there's a guy named Stan, not Veit. oh shoot, I can't remember his name. He had the first computer degree in the UK.
Oh, I don't know about that. Okay.
That's
He
a good
wrote for a
trivia
couple
question. I'll tell you
magazines.
that.
And yeah, I got a chance to meet him. So we hosted the Sinclair show in 1999 here in California. Somehow I wrote to him and he actually came and showed up.
Oh,
And then gave me a copy of one of his books and signed it for me.
cool.
Shoot, can't remember his name. Really nice guy, liked all kinds of computers. But I think he was the first one that actually had a computer science degree before such a thing existed.
That's crazy. So he must have gotten that.
Stan Kelly Boodle, that was his name.
Did he get it in like the 50s or something?
Yeah, late 50s out of some university in the UK. But Stan Kelly Boodle was his name. He did the Devil's DP Dictionary and then wrote a couple columns for other magazines.
Well,
Wow.
back then, engineers were, computer guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
There wasn't any, there wasn't a computer guy. You were an engineer.
Well, guys, it's been fantastic again. Once again, we've run out of time.
Thank you again for putting this together and also finding all these guests to come up on the upcoming meetings.
It's not that late here. You guys can stay online.
Yeah, thank you, David.
All right. Have a good evening, guys.
Okay, thank
Bye,
you,
everyone.
Thank you
All
all.
right, see ya.
See ya.
2 weeks.
See you. Bye bye.